Greetings. I eat meat. I've always eaten meat, but there was a brief period in time where I didn't eat meat and wore deep V's and rode a fixed gear bicycle. At the time, it was a bit of a trend to be vegan in the hardcore punk scene hipster communities of the 2010s. If you were vegan or vegetarian, chances are you were also either straight edge or doing copious amounts of Molly in your Shutter sunglasses and suspenders. A combination of some of the most insufferable quirks a single person can have. Despite some people's militant non-meat eating ideals, humans are what's called omnivores. We are evolutionarily designed to eat meat. We have both incisors and molars, some for tearing flesh and others for grinding up plant matter, and still others that are merely cosmetic. We also have highly acidic stomachs compared to herbivores, which help digest meat and kill bacteria. We also have shorter digestive tracts than herbivores, which need to be longer in order to digest the plant matter, but not as short as carnivores, who need a shorter tract in order to digest the meat that would rapidly decay. Some scientists actually theorize that the incorporation of meat into our early ancestors' diets was also a major factor in the development of our big ol' brains, which require a lot of energy to power. Like how your average Ford pickup truck need a gallon of gas to go just 6 miles. Because of our big truck brains, we're especially smart and have developed the ability to feel empathy for the animals we consume or turn into a sweet leather jacket, but simultaneously feel absolutely nothing when a rainforest is bulldozed into a strip mall. For more on that, you can watch my video on pet influencers. But for some, that empathy is strong enough to turn them off from eating meat altogether. They're called vegans, and they'll make sure that you know that they're vegan. And I didn't turn this on! According to a Gallup poll from 2019, 5 to 8% of the population is vegetarian. There are lots of reasons why a person chooses not to eat meat. Dietary reasons, religion, and ethical concerns are some of the most common. But also, if you're an unpatriotic wimp who hates America and baseball and hot dogs and the freedom to shoot a deer right between the eyes to make a delicious venison stew. On the flip side, the vast majority of the world's population eats meat in some form. Depending on the location, infrastructure, and other very nuanced and complicated factors that I'm too stupid to understand or research for a dumb comedy video on YouTube, it's cheaper and faster to consume a meal that contains some form of animal. Now, it's not entirely accurate to say that eating a vegan or vegetarian diet is always going to be more expensive, but in many places, the availability and demand of meat products make them a staple item. The established infrastructure that has existed for decades or centuries in many of these places contributes to it being an affordable option. If you're low income, buying a frozen meat popsicle that's packed with 1,000 calories is gonna be a lot cheaper than trying to get those calories from vegetables alone. Unless you're a beans and potatoes kind of guy. Not to mention people who work multiple jobs or have a long commute, which makes preparing a home-cooked meal of quinoa and kale not exactly ideal. Another factor that some folks, vegans, often like to exclude when talking about how everyone should just quit eating meat, it's not that hard, is that dietary restrictions and food allergies exist. While meat allergies do exist, they're much less common than plant-based allergies, like alpha-gal syndrome, which is brought on by tick bites. Nuts, soy, wheat, celery, mustard, sesame, and lots of fruits are some of the most common food allergies that affect about 10% of the population. Another 19% believe they have some kind of undiagnosed allergy. So good luck shopping at your local Safeway or Ralph's for groceries that won't kill you, or at the very least not give you explosive diarrhea, especially when you consider a lot of food items come with that little sticker that say made in a factory that handles nuts. Don't say it, don't say it. Handles these nuts! Even vegetarians or vegans might be unknowingly consuming food that use animal byproducts in their processing. At this point, we all know that gelatin is very not vegan, and it's used in things like marshmallows, gummy bears, and even some dairy products. But did you know that some red dyes are actually made from the crushed carapaces of the cochineal bug? Or that something called isinglass is used to clarify some beer and wines that is derived from fish bladders. Shellac comes from the female lac bug, which is sometimes used as a glaze. Animal bones, or bone char, is used to make sugar whiter, and the amino acid L-cysteine, a dough conditioner, is made from feathers and sometimes human hair, which sounds like cannibalism? Is that cannibalism? Before any vegans watching this decide to jump in the comments and pull out a soapbox to rudely berate me about how stupid and ignorant I am, let me extend an olive branch. Please don't eat it though. I know that most reasonable vegans and vegetarians are protesting or boycotting factory farming by choosing not to eat meat or animals or use animal byproducts like leather. Industrial animal farming is horrendous, but that's not the fault of the individual consumer per se. Those people shouldn't be shamed or condescended to, which is where I see a lot of hate sort of being directed. We should all of us be very angry at unethical corporations that process their meat popsicles.
I am a meat popsicle.
Thanks to the demand of capitalism to increase profits and decrease costs. After all, we have capitalism to blame for creating the conditions that leave very few ethical food options to low-income people and those with allergies. I wrote a tongue twister. Awesome. I have absolutely no problem with people who choose to eat a vegetarian or vegan diet or wear animal alternatives like faux leather. Although fake leather is just made from plastic, which comes from fossil fuels, which pollutes our planet and kills animals, so there's no clear winner there. You can get cactus leather, that's a thing, or mushroom leather is a new thing that exists, so look into that, I guess. The problem I have comes when those people say you should just grow your own food without taking into consideration the people who live in metropolitan areas who barely have room for a compost bin, let alone a garden.
This is the view that I saw outside of the window when I toured the apartment back in August. I toured it on a Monday night. Monday is the day that they take the trash out here, apparently. This is what I was greeted with when I moved in September.
Or when they make their diet their whole personality. It's the same way I find it obnoxious when passionate meat eaters call vegans soy boys and cucks who have an unhealthy, almost sexual relationship with their Traeger grill. We all tend to latch onto certain aspects of our personality, which includes our hobbies and interests, as a way to fit in and attract others who share those same hobbies and interests. Forming a militant fanaticism over your diet or anything really is a great way to annoy the shit out of people and push them away from whatever message you're trying to spread, no matter how well-intentioned you may be. Which brings me to PETA. Every couple of months, it feels like PETA makes the rounds on the internet for some batshit tweet or stunt or ad that is so tone deaf, and until we find another word from the internet age lexicon we can pulverize into oblivion, cringe. Everything is cringe. But PETA is probably in the top slot when it comes to worst offenders, right up there with anyone who used the word chuggy unironically, anything Christian Balls has ever done, and puppy girl Jenna, who died from carbon monoxide poisoning? I didn't know that that was a thing that could still happen. The most recent dumb thing PETA decided to tweet about was how you wouldn't eat a T-Rex because they're related to chickens by about 100 million years. Obviously, all of the replies were about how people would definitely eat a T-Rex burger if given the chance. Scrolling through the thread, there are a bunch of replies from PETA spouting a bunch of nonsense, like how there is no nutritional need for humans to eat any animal products. All of our dietary needs, even as infants and children, are best supplied by an animal-free diet. What? You know, unless you have celiac disease or a peanut allergy, or your kid is just a really picky eater and the only thing he wants are chicken tendies. Try getting to get a kid to eat broccoli or anything green. It's not happening. And don't get me started on the really insane vegans who killed their newborn because they refused to breastfeed. That's not what being vegan is, you maniacs. Around the same time as the T-Rex burger tweet, PETA's senior VP of Cruelty Investigations, Daphne Nakminovich, issued a statement over Pete Davidson buying a dog instead of adopting one, saying it's tragic and that a scrappy New Yorker with charm, personality, and unconventional handsomeness could have been a perfect match. Which feels like a dig at Davidson? I honestly can't tell if they're talking about Pete Davidson or this fictional stray dog in this scenario. Is the dog the one with the unconventional handsomeness? They urged Pete to show some big heart energy by adopting, not shopping in the future. He was obviously not thrilled about being called out like this, and so he left a quote-unquote unhinged message for them, saying that the dog he got is the only breed that he's not violently allergic to.
Thank you so much for making comments publicly that I didn't adopt a dog. I just want to let you know I'm severely allergic to dogs, so I have to get a specific breed. I'm only not allergic to Cavapoos and those type of dogs. And my mom's dog, who was 2 years old, died a week prior, and we're all so sad, so I had to get a specific dog. So why don't you do your research before you create news stories for people, because you're a boring, tired you, and
I guess he could have gotten a rat or a goldfish, but walking your fish through the park it's just not the same as walking your dog through the park. Just taking my steelhead trout for a walk through the park, officer. When I saw these two tweets almost back to back, I thought, wouldn't it be fun to look at PETA's long history of making boneheaded marketing decisions? They've been doing it for a long time. It's kind of the only thing they're good at, honestly. One of the first things that popped up when I started doing the research about past PETA campaigns was the boyfriend went vegan commercial, which I will now play in its entirety for you. It's only 30 seconds. Don't worry, hang in there.
This is Jessica. She suffers from BWV-AKT boom. Boyfriend went vegan and knocked the bottom out of me. A painful condition that occurs when boyfriends go vegan and can suddenly bring it like a tantric porn star. For Jessica, it's too late.
Oh, you're back. You feeling better?
Please go to bwvaktboom.com and learn to go vegan safely.
Not only is it a wild leap to suggest that changing your diet is gonna knock the bottom out of your partner during sex, but also that this type of intimacy is normal and not just domestic abuse. He's patching up a hole. Did he put her fucking head through the wall? How does that happen? If you're putting holes in the wall during sex, you're doing it wrong, probably. Just do it normal style, man. It's pretty disturbing imagery if you think about it for more than 2 seconds. And I get that it's supposed to be humorous, considering the guy they show is your stereotypical skinny nerd type that is not associated normally with being good at sex. Unless you use the Revenge of the Nerds argument, but that doesn't absolve Lewis from raping Betty. So maybe don't use that argument, is what I'm saying. This is also not what tantric sex looks like. I should know. Despite my appearance, I am very good at sex. Lisa Lang, a senior vice president for PETA, said the clip is meant to be tongue-in-cheek and that people who watch the ad all the way through see the woman has a mischievous smile. She's happy to go back with him. It's playful. Now, I'm not a person with a vagina, but for anyone who does have one, please comment below whether you like having your pelvic floor treated like a boxing club speed bag. At the time that this ad came out, Chris Brown was in the news for beating the ever-loving shit out of Rihanna, so people weren't too excited to see a woman battered and broken after sex for an ad that's about going vegan. There was most certainly a way to make a similar joke without the punchline being, women need to get fucked real good. The ad just comes across as unnecessarily violent and misogynistic. In 2011, they put this ad out, which simply read, "Payback is hell," which is especially dumb considering you're more likely to get struck by lightning, die from a bee sting, hit a hole-in-one, or even win an Oscar than you are to get not just bitten by a shark, but completely devoured by one, hungry hippo style. This is bad for sharks because ever since Jaws, they've gotten a bad rap. They're depicted as vicious man-eaters, which cause a spike in shark murder and a decline of beach tourism. This negative perception of sharks also affected conservation as people were less inclined to promote or participate in those efforts. Sharks, if you didn't know, breed very infrequently, have extremely long gestation periods, mature very slowly, and when they do give birth, it's to a very small number of pups? What are baby sharks called? Sharts? The ad just perpetuates inaccurate depictions of sharks and, if anything, hurts sharks, which are animals, which is the thing PETA purports to be trying to save and protect. Here they are suggesting that dairy products cause autism. So, what the fuck? And this one suggests that if you're a big fat whale, you should consider go vegan. It'll melt the fat right off your body. Just eat like a gerbil. This wasn't the only time that they fat shamed pretty much all women. In 2015, they released another ad campaign after a study was released saying that Plan B was less effective for women who weighed over 176 pounds. They suggested you go with Plan V, as it will encourage women to adopt a healthy vegan diet in order to lose weight and so take control of their reproductive rights. It's also bizarre how they constantly double down on how going vegan will make you sexy and a supermodel. Dozens of their ads over the years have used literal Victoria's Secret models to promote a vegan lifestyle, which really narrows down their audience and might ostracize other people that they're trying to reach. These sexy ads also dilute the message that PETA is trying to promote by distracting you with boobies. I don't even know who these ads are aimed at anymore. Another time they just put pregnant women in gestation cages in public in front of children. Also, they put Bigfoot's merkin on Joanna Krupa. Who is this supposed to convince? But their ads don't just stop at misogyny. In 2009, they equated the American Kennel Club to the Klan with a K. But not that Klan with a K, the Ku Klux Klan. Apparently dog breeding is the exact same thing as being an ignorant racist.
I'm sorry, sir. I think you have the wrong meeting.
Oh, is this the American Kennel Club?
Yes, but, we're discussing...
And you believe in the sanctity of pure bloodlines, right?
Yes.
And breeding to achieve a master race?
Well, master pedigree. They're...
Race, pedigree, I mean, that's just all semantics. I think I'm gonna fit right in here. You're my kind of people. Here, they're gonna be, snacks later?
It is technically eugenics, and while I'm sure the Kennel Club is full of a bunch of old white racists, it's a pretty big leap to suggest they're burning crosses and preventing dogs from voting.
What's up, everybody? I think dogs should vote!
Another time, they called everyone who eats meat Nazis in this horrifying Eastern Bloc propaganda piece. This campaign was aptly titled Holocaust on Your Plate. I swear, the marketing department is just run by a bunch of edgelord tweens who misunderstand every lyric of their favorite band, Rage Against the Machine. If you're wondering if any of these ads help the anti-animal cruelty cause and convince the general public to go vegan, the answer is probably not really. They're violent, condescending, hateful, ham-fisted, and they alienate the average person from taking them seriously by guilt-tripping them into not eating meat. The script says daring, but I just said whatever. They're ripe for parody and often get ratioed on whatever platform they're being posted on. Some of the campaigns are so ludicrous that you might confuse them with a parody made by some internet prankster, like the time they developed a mock video game criticizing Pokemon for encouraging animal cruelty, titled Pokemon Black and Blue, or the parody of Super Mario Bros. Titled Mario Kills Tanuki for supposedly supporting the slaughter of raccoon dogs in the fur industry. Look at him supporting the fur industry. Mario, the fictional plumber who gets big when he eats mushrooms and becomes invincible by punching a strobing rave star. Is that thing alive? It's got a face. Does Mario kill a superstar every time he uses it? That's like suggesting kids are gonna go out and buy hookers and shoot up a mall because they played GTA 5. For more information on this, you can watch my video on cultural decay. They don't just spend their time and money making edgy advocacy campaigns though. Remember that viral video of the guy who gets in a fist fight with a kangaroo in order to save his dog? Well, PETA tried to sue him for animal cruelty. I actually don't know if they were trying to sue him over the kangaroo or the dog, or maybe both. They should have sued that kangaroo. He had that dog in a perfect chokehold. I don't know what they would have preferred, the dog and the kangaroo just like fight to the death. What? You just gonna let them? They also tried to establish a legal precedent that animals can be copyright holders after this monkey took a selfie, which cost the photographer, David J. Slater, over $10,000 in legal fees. They also petitioned Ben & Jerry's to use human milk in their ice cream? If this was serious, what is PETA doing? I obviously can't sit here and talk about all the campaigns they've done because they produce and execute just so many every year. You know what else they execute? Animals. The Washington Post reported that in 2015, PETA euthanized more than 80% of their animals in its care last year, a rate so shockingly high that Virginia lawmakers passed SB 1381 nearly unanimously to define a private animal shelter as a place where the primary mission is to find permanent homes for animals in this life, not send them on to the next. I should point out right about now that there have been several tweets and articles written about how PETA's kill rate is 99% or 72% or 65%, and I get that people fucking hate PETA. But throwing numbers out there like this is about the same as the fear-mongering ads that PETA produces and releases. The shelter in question actually takes in all kinds of animals. Feral, aggressive, sick, elderly, and otherwise unadoptable. They claim they transfer out as many animals as they can to other local shelters and only euthanize the most extreme cases, which skews their KD ratio. Now, I'm gonna take their claims with a grain of salt, but I wanted to mention it in order to be somewhat fair and balanced. But a quick fact check comes up with the total number of animals PETA has put down between 1998 and 2019 to be around 40,000. There were also some quotes that went around a few years ago in regards to PETA's euthanization operation, which were attributed to Ingrid Newkirk. She's the founder of PETA, and a lot of people decided to make memes using the quotes that were either missing context or completely unproven according to Snopes. Some of these quotes made it seem like she took pleasure in killing animals at a shelter she worked at before founding PETA, but these memes lack context as she was recounting an experience of working with actual sick and twisted psychos that would torture the animals in their care. See, she would go in early to put these animals down as humanely as possible before the psychopaths would come in and squish their heads like grapes. I shouldn't laugh at that. Wow. So it was an awkward laugh. I'm sorry. I don't kill animals. I don't think it's funny. So thankfully, it doesn't seem like PETA is some sadistic organization merely posing as an animal rights advocacy group. They're still extremely embarrassing and maybe need to chill out on the Holocaust imagery and naked women in Bigfoot merkins. I've never been convinced by a PETA campaign, and I'm not really sure what the right approach is to sway people into ditching their meat-eating lifestyle or to not use their hamster as a replacement for a lost baseball. But guilting people by shoving photos and videos of skinned raccoon dogs in their face definitely isn't the way to go. If you have the means, you should definitely try to buy your meat locally and avoid brands that utilize factory farming, and remember that there is no conscientious consumption under capitalism. It's always capitalism. Also, don't forget that monoculture farming destroys the planet and industrial agriculture kills, I don't know, trillions of rodents and insects every year. So not even your vegetables are technically vegan. That's the video. Thanks so much for watching. Please like and share and subscribe. Sharing really helps. Show this to your friends. Show it to your mom. Show this video specifically to any of your vegan friends. See how mad they get. I want them to comment. I want them to be mad at me. Tear me down. Make a fool of me. It's my king. It's not. Don't do that. Bye.